Libertarians, it does not matter. If it goes against their agenda, they will eventually go after you, while turning the masses against you so their cause seems righteous. You have to understand, they have to tear down all of the religions to unite the masses under theirs. Let's look at what Richard Dawkins said. No, all religions are not equally violent. Some have never been violent. Some gave it up centuries ago. One religion conspicuously didn't. They shouted, "We have avenged the Prophet Muhammad." Some useful idiot will claim it had nothing to do with religion. Now, many atheists will agree with him and run stories stating the same thing without breaking down the fact that the whole thing was staged. Why? Because of their bias. And that bias will be used against them. But not just for them, but for every other set of beliefs. Your bias will be used against you. The New World Order is based upon the dawn of the age of Aquarius. The major trait of that age is the social network. What I mean by social network is that people will do things more in a group manner. Groupthink will be emphasized over the individual mind. The New World Order religion will tell you everyone is one entity instead of several individuals. By saying this, they will have more control because everyone will be thinking the same force-fed ideology, and anyone who thinks differently will be easily identified and shunned because they are disturbing the peace. That supposed peace will be given by the New World Order. You need to know these quotes. To achieve world government, it is necessary to remove from the minds of men their individualism, loyalty to family traditions, national patriotism, and religious dogmas. Now that is from Brock Adams, director of United Nations Health Organization. The world can therefore seize the opportunity to fulfill the long-held promise of a new world order, where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind. And that's from George H.W. Bush. The real truth of the matter is, as you and I know, that a financial element in the larger centers has owned the government ever since the days of Andrew Jackson. That's from Franklin D. Roosevelt, November 21st, 1933. Now, why would he lie over something like that?
The New World Order must meet with immediate need and not be an attempt to satisfy some distant, idealistic vision. The New World Order must be appropriate to a world which has passed through a destructive crisis and to a humanity which is badly shattered by the experience. The New World Order must lay the foundation for a future world order, which will be possible only after a time of recovery, of reconstruction, and of rebuilding. In the preparatory period for the New World Order, there will be a steady and regulated disarmament. It will not be optional. No nation will be permitted to produce and organize any equipment for destructive purposes or to infringe the security of any other nation. The New World Order must be appropriate to a world which has passed through a destructive crisis. We are concerned with only one subject, the ushering in of the New World Order. The present world order, which is today largely disorder, can be so modified and changed that a new world and a new race of men can gradually come into being. Renunciation and the use of sacrificial will should be the keynote for the interim period after World War II, prior to the inauguration of the new age. The New World Order will be founded on an active sense of responsibility. The rule will be all for one and one for all. This attitude among nations will have to be developed. It is not yet present.
And those were all quotes from Alice Bailey of Lucis Trust. Lucis Trust works with the United Nations to bring about this New World Order agenda. More quotes from her.
The vision in men's minds today is that of the Aquarian age, even if they recognize it not. The future will see right relationships, true communion, a sharing of all things, wine, the blood, the life and bread, economic satisfaction, and goodwill. We have also a picture of the future of humanity in when all nations are united and completing understanding and the diversity of languages, cultures, civilizations, and points of view will provide no barrier to right human relations. At the center of each of these pictures is to be found the Christ. Thus, the express aims and efforts of the United Nations will be eventually brought to fruition, and a new church of God, gathered out of all religions and spiritual groups, will untidily bring to an end the great heresy of separateness. Love, unity, and the risen Christ will be present, and he will demonstrate to us the perfect life.
That is a quote from her book, Destiny of Nations. And that Christ figure she speaks of is one who will be led by Shambhala energy from what they call the ancient wisdom. This ancient wisdom will ultimately teach that Lucifer is the ruler of humanity. Now, I know grown folks at this point, you're like, oh, this is just the crazy talk. But you need to understand with your closed-minded behind that this message is really for the kids. They are the ones who will have to grow up in a world where this will be considered the norm. So in essence, they won't really know any better and will think they are doing the right thing. You, on the other hand, who have received warning after another warning, will be one of the reasons why this happens to them. You had a nerd call stuff crazy without even doing the research. You don't understand the times we are living in. You don't understand the coming age. Kids, remember and look back, there was somebody who knew it would happen. It is a manufactured piece from multiple manufactured crises. Manufactured piece in that they control ISIS and Al-Qaeda, so whenever they want a perceived peace, they stop using them for fake events. Why would the United Nations, with as much power and influence it has, be connected to Lucius Trust? Look at this website, luciustrust.org. And you see it says World Goodwill. What is World Goodwill? World Goodwill is an accredited non-governmental organization with the Department of Public Information of the United Nations. It provides informal relations with certain of the specialized agencies and with a wide range of national and international non-governmental organizations. World Goodwill is an activity of the Lucius Trust, which is on the roster of the United Nations Economic and Social Council. We are living in a world that is being ushered into the desired new world order by the United Nations. George Bush said himself, "We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders." That's right, he said that. And look, with the creation of television and the internet, which is the essential tool of the New World Order, the world reacts simultaneously to single events. I said the whole world reacts to single events. You could look at the Michael Brown protests and see these are different times. Protests from Philadelphia to Tokyo, while they should see the Hands Up, Don't Shoot movie to really understand what happened, their intentions are in the right place. These same good intentions will be taken advantage of in the coming age. This is something that emerged within the last 100 years and will send the world into a completely different direction within the next. We are already seeing a glimpse of this new world order. USA reacts. Barack Obama said, "France and the great city of Paris, where this outrageous attack took place, offer the world a timeless example that will endure well beyond the hateful vision of these killers." Germany reacts. Chancellor Merkel said, "What has happened in Paris today is indeed a barbarous attack against all the values we share. This is an attack against the values we all hold dear, values by which we stand, values of freedom of the press, freedom in general, and the dignity of man. And again, our thoughts are with the French people, with all of those who have lost loved one in this horrific attack, and everything we can do to help the French, we will certainly do." Italy reacts. The Pope said, "Wednesday's terrorist attack in Paris brings to mind so much cruelty, human cruelty, so much terrorism, both isolated incidents of terrorism and of state terrorism. Russia reacts. Russian President Vladimir Putin said, "We decisively condemn this cynical crime. We reaffirm our readiness to continue active cooperation in combating the threat of terrorism." Norway reacts. Prime Minister Erna Solberg said, "On behalf of the Norwegian government, I offer condolences after the hideous assassination of the editorial team of Charlie Hebdo. This attack in Paris touches everyone who wants to keep free speech alive. We will not let us scare to self-censorship." That's okay. Egypt reacts. Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, Egypt's president, said, "Terrorism is an international phenomenon that should be faced and terminated through joint international effort." Saudi Arabia reacts. Cowardly terrorist act which Islam as well as other religions reject. Lebanon reacts. Prime Minister Tamam Salam says unacceptable and unjustifiable terrorist act. India reacts. India's Minister of Finance says Paris shooting incident is an ugly attack on humanity. It's a wake-up call for international community to unite against terrorism. Australia reacts. Tony Abbott said, "Australia stands with the people and the government of France at this difficult time." Japan reacts. Japan Prime Minister Shinzo Abe said, "We categorically condemn any cowardly act of terrorism, no matter what the motive may be. At this difficult time, Japan is with France." South Korea reacts. Under the firm stance that terrorism is an unjustifiable, anti-civil, anti-human act that must be eradicated, South Korea supports the French government's fight against terrorism. The South Korean government will take active part in the international community's effort to uproot terrorism. South Africa reacts. Deliberate attacks against journalists and members of the public contravene international law and constitute a crime against humanity. Key word there. South Africa stands firmly with the international community by unequivocally condemning all terrorism and will continue to support regional and international efforts to address the scourge of terrorism in all its forms. China reacts. We strongly condemn that. The Chinese side mourns the victims and extends sincere sympathy to the bereaved families and the injured. The Chinese side resolutely opposes terrorism in all manifestations and supports the effort by the French side to safeguard security of the country. Israel reacts. Benjamin Netanyahu says yesterday's murderous attack on free expression clearly demonstrates the disdain of radical Islam for the values we hold dear, he said. We cherish freedom and tolerance. They worship tyranny and terror. And through this terror, they seek to impose a new dark age on humanity. Keyword there. These extremists are part of a global movement, and this necessitates a global response. I believe that with the strength of our resolve and the unity of our action, we can defeat this threat to our common civilization. And what the battle against terror requires is courage, clarity, and consistency. Palestine reacts. The president expressed to the French president and the French people